Okay, so working with Tadasana today as this blueprint for our standing postures, and in particular working with the let's see, let's get everybody muted. Working with some of the obvious actions of the legs, but some of the actions that are a little more subtle, and then moving that into some other standing postures. So I just got back from Mexico and hosting a retreat there. And we talked a little bit about how the quality of being a mountain, and Tadasana is the mountain pose, right? So the quality of being a mountain, of being steady and strong and reliable, we can overdo that sometimes, or the flip side of that might be that we become stagnant or inflexible. So there's lots of movement, even with these really subtle, there's lots of subtle movement, even with these postures that seem to be very unmoving. So there's movement in our mountain. So you can begin on your back and just drop into your body in a way that suits you. And if that's not on your back, that's fine too. We're gonna start together on our backs, and then we'll be getting up to standing. So if you'd rather move standing, you can. But you might start just by invoking a yawn and allowing your body to move you. So that pendiculation. And just checking in from outer to inner, so the peripheral in, or from top to bottom, head to feet, or the other way around, or from your core. I usually like to check in with my low back and pelvis first, and then from there move out. So whatever feels right to you. And then from a position of comfort, so knees bent, soles of the feet on the floor, just bring your knees across side to side in a windshield wiper motion. And then pull knees into your chest and separate your legs. And making some circles with your knees. You can take this in both directions. And allow there to be a little follow through in the rest of your body. So you might actually feel like you're doing a little cat-cow movement, pelvic tilting. And then we'll just stack knees over hips and hands behind your head, and inhale, take a big inhale here, and on your exhale, bring elbows towards one another and curl up towards your knees, knees in towards your chest, and inhale and exhale. And you can take a few rounds just to get acquainted with your core. Feel a little heat. Then say, take the feet to the floor and open up your knees wide so that you're in a Baddha Konasana shape with your legs. So it's best if their feet are not completely touching, but just a little space in between your feet. And on your inhale, drop pubic bone away from navel. So get a little arch in your back, legs open. elbows to the floor, and on your exhale, squeeze your elbows towards one another and squeeze your legs together. Soles of the feet still on the floor, and then inhale, open everything up and a little arch in your low back. And then exhale, pull your low back down towards the floor, squeeze elbows towards one another, squeeze legs towards one another. Go back and forth this way a few times. And if you can, bring attention to your inner legs. So bringing the inner legs towards one another, or the hips towards one another, adducting, bringing towards the midline, squeezing. So imagine that you had something between your legs actually to squeeze. Yep. Get all those actions going. Good. Then you can extend your legs long and just rest in a Tadasana kind of shape. So toes pointed up towards the ceiling and arms to your side, and then just press through one heel and the opposite heel and feel the movement in your hips. So this up slip, down slip movement in your hips. Yeah, and then you can just take once you've done an even number, just kind of rest here with your legs straight. And on your next exhale, as you inhale and exhale here for a few rounds, draw your hip pointers towards one another. Does not a lot of movement, but if you have your hands on your hip pointers, the front of your pelvis, feel for drawing your hip pointers towards one another. If that feels easier to access with your knees bent, you could do that as well. Just a little action of drawing the hip pointers towards one another, as if you're squeezing everything in towards midline, like a corset. Corset action. Just a few rounds there. Really feel that subtle movement. Okay, and you can let that go, and then take both feet to the right and arms. Either interlace your hands behind your head, sweep your left elbow back, just open up left side waist. Here on the floor. As you come through center, you can go the other side, feet over to the left, toes pointed up towards the ceiling, open up right side body. Do this a few times. Just most of us are on here early in the morning, so we're open up the space between the ribs. Get sticky when we sleep. So go each side a few times. Good. Then come back to center. And now you can roll to one side or rock yourself up. Coming to table. If you've got something padding your mat, that's fine. We'll do a couple rounds of cat-cow, adding any other movement to that side movement, or just rock back and forth. And if you need to fold the blanket up, take that out of the picture, as I do. And we'll continue that little vinyasa. We'll continue from cat-cow. Next time you come into cow, wait for us there. And then on your exhale, drop your elbows slowly to the floor and your hips back towards your heels. And then inhale back up to cow. And then exhale, turn your toes under and press up and back to downward facing dog. And this vinyasa a few times. So dropping knees, coming to cow. And then exhale, elbows to the floor first, hips back, child's pose. then cow, and then downward facing dog. Take your time in any of these shapes that if you need to work anything else out or check anything else out. We'll do this a few times. Okay, we'll do it a few times and then we'll meet in downward facing dog. And then walk your feet up towards your hands, bend your knees, take hands to thighs, and just press yourself up to standing. Great. So you'll need your block, one block handy, you'll need your strap handy. And go ahead and just find Tadasana. I didn't cue this at the beginning. You might want to have a chair handy for some of what we're going to do today. So, or just have the ability to travel to some piece of furniture to help you with your balance. All right, so take your feet right together. So ankles together as much as possible, big toes together. And press into your feet into the floor. And then just pick up your toes and spread them and set them back down. Pick up your toes and spread them and set them back down. Feel your weight on the inner and outer edges of your feet. And you can feel for some evenness there. And then rock a little bit, heel to the balls of your feet, back and forth a little bit, and feel for your evenness there, front to back. Okay, now squeeze your hips in. So squeeze in, we call this adduction, right? Squeeze in, feel that work, all right? And then draw your kneecaps up. So you feel the front of your legs being squeezed, right? Okay, so we're going to explore that action just a little bit. And here's where, if you did have a chair or want a chair, you could use the chair. I got mine to the side here, but it's not necessary either. But go ahead and pick your right knee up, pick your right foot off the ground. I'll turn myself just a little bit, so there you go. All right, so imagine that you've got a lever you're going to pull on your knee, and as you pull that lever, your leg extends and you press right through your heel. Right, and then you release that. And then pull that lever, press through your heel. You could feel your quad here and feel that you've got some engagement in your quad, and then release that. And then pull that lever, press through your heel. So toes are back and you're pressing through your heels, right? Okay, a couple more times. Pull that lever, press through your heel. Feel the strength of your quad here. Good. Pull that lever, press through your heel, feel that strength. Good. Okay, let's set that leg down and let's try the other side. And again, chair, no chair, it doesn't matter. Just you'll be balancing now on your right foot. And so now you're going to do the same thing. You're going to pull that lever and press through your left heel. Feel the strength of your left quad. Do that a couple times. I think we did 5 on the other side. So you can do 5 on this side. And then you can set that foot down. You can bounce your heels, do whatever, shake out your legs, okay? So now that's the front of the legs, right? So now let's get the back of the leg engaged. So if you put your weight in your left foot and step your right foot back on your toes, you're on your toes, or your toes under. Okay, and then try to push that foot back like you're gonna spread the mat back behind you. So you're trying to push back isometrically, and then just feel back at on your hamstring. Can you feel that engagement? Okay. Draw your tailbone forward as you do this. And feel for maybe dragging your heel up towards the back of your sit bones, like a zipper. Hopefully you feel a little engagement there, okay? You could also, either balancing or with your chair, bring your heel now towards your hand, touching your heel with your fingers. And keep your knee back so you don't come forward with the knee, knees are lined up. And then maybe press your finger into your heel and your heel into your finger. Now, I feel it now. So maybe that's what it'll take to really feel the hamstring engage. Good. Then you can let that leg come down. And we'll try the other side. So again, you're just going to step your foot back, turn your toes under, and try to slide your foot back isometrically, your left foot now. And you can feel that engagement in your hamstring. Okay, you could take it further by bringing your foot heel up toward your fingers, press your fingers against your heel against your fingers. Okay, good, and release. Okay, you feel both those actions. Now, bring your feet together again and firmly plant your feet and draw your kneecaps up and see if you can isometrically push your heels back and zip up from the back of your heels to where your hamstring meets your sit bones, right? See if you can find the action in the back of your legs. Find that action in the front and the back. And then release, okay? So that should be a little bit of work. That should feel like a little bit of work if we're not just sort of lazily standing, okay? So now, let's take the block. We'll take the block between our thighs, bring feet as close as possible. And now let's work with that adduction. So squeezing the block between the legs, the inner legs are working. Engage the front of the thighs, engage the back of the thighs. See if you can find all of those actions happening. And I feel this feels like work to me. Okay, so it should feel like you're doing some pretty significant work. Release the block, set it to the side, and then take your strap right above your knees. You can start with your feet together and bring your strap right tightly right there, and then separate your feet. And now feel that abduction working as you press out against the strap. Press out against the strap. This is abduction. Notice what's happening other places in your body if your toes are trying to get in on the action here. Sometimes with standing postures, my feet want to do a lot of extra work. So we'll go for another couple rounds of breath. And then we'll step out of the strap. Okay. So now let's put all those actions together. So come with your feet together. If this is really challenging for you to have your feet close together, you can separate a little bit. Just choose what feels like a good spot for you. And then pull those levers up. Sometimes when we engage the front of the legs, we over-engage the front of the legs and then the back of the legs don't work. So you could start by engaging the back of the legs actually. So as you're standing, press, like you're pressing your heels back in space, sliding them back, and then zipper from your heel up to your sit bones. Then engage the front, squeeze the block, and pull out against the strap. Reach your fingertips down towards the floor. Okay. Now, notice, like I noticed right away, that I was actually kind of teetering to one side. So make sure you have an even stance. Sami, right? You got an even stance on both feet, front to back, side to side. Keep doing the work in your legs. And then bring your arms to a T. Press your hands down into an imaginary wall. Flip your palms up and reach your arms up. Urdhva Hastasana. Now, almost as if you could turn your palms towards the back of the room, find a little more external rotation in your arms and let your shoulders come down. Your shoulder blades kind of drop down. So you don't have your shoulder tops up in your ears. Keep doing the work in your legs. And release. Shake out. Move around your space. Okay. And we'll move on to the next. I'm going to just remove my one mat from my other mat, just because it affects balance a little bit. So we're going to go to Vrksasana, which is the tree pose, a little balancing pose. And you're welcome to grab a chair, piece of furniture, whatever for this, okay? So in Vrksasana, the standing leg is our Tadasana leg, right? So let's put weight into the left foot and find all those actions. So back of the leg, front of the leg. Imagine you're gonna squeeze the legs together, right? And then you're gonna break out against the strap. And if you want to start with the chair or something for balance, perfect, fine. Then bend through your right knee and bring your foot up towards the inner thigh. Keep your hand on your ankle. So it's not that we're particularly working on balance. So if you want the chair or the piece of furniture, it's fine. And then draw your left hip in. So squeeze in, like you're squeezing into midline. And then pull up on your hand to lift your chest. You feel all the actions in your standing leg. Okay, so if you have to bend your knee a little bit to find the hamstring strength, because what happens when we overdo the quad is that we might hyperextend in the leg. So isometrically, if I bend my knee a little bit and I isometrically draw my heel back and zip up, then straighten, pulling on the ankle, and release. Okay, again, use the chair if you want to. Set up on the other side. So weight into the right foot now. Find all those actions with your right leg, Tadasana. You can even start with the legs together. Find the Tadasana actions of pulling up the back of the leg, tightening the hamstring, tightening the quads, drawing the right hip in, squeezing the legs together, and then bend through your left. Take your left foot up into the thigh. If it doesn't go there, that's fine. Go to your calf or the inside of your knee. But if you can get your foot up, that'll help you because you can grab it with your hand and it helps you lift your chest. Now draw that right leg really strongly in. Outer hip is squeezing in. And then pull with your hand against your ankle to lift through your chest. You can have your other hand on something for balance. And feel the work of your strong standing leg that's in Tadasana. And release. Shake out. Grab your block. We've done this many times. We're going to look at it again. So with Vrksasana, a lot of times what happens is we'll go to get into Vrksasana, and then the hip sort of displaces, right? Like teenage girl, I call it. So we want to work with that a little bit. So let's bring left foot to the block and stand on the block. You could use something for balance. And then the right foot hovers. And then you're going to let that action happen. Let the action happen where the right foot slips down towards the left. The right hip slips down and your foot slips towards the floor. Maybe even touch your toes. And then pull the left hip in and balance your pelvis again. And do that a couple times. So the tendency in Vrksasana is to have the hips offset. So we want to keep the hips nice and even by pulling standing leg, that outer hip, we pull that in strongly. So you can come off that foot, try the other side. Right, so you're going to purposely go to the teenage girl stance and then pull the right hip in and find a nice even stance with your pelvis. Good. Okay, then we can set the block aside and let's come back to Vrksasana again. So weight in the left foot. Okay, and another little thing you could start with. You could start in this Tadasana with your left foot back just slightly, and then pull back isometrically with your heel. All right. Pull the lever on the front of the leg. Feel that. Draw the hip in. Squeeze the legs together. Okay, you feel all that. You feel nice and secure in the left leg. Bring the right foot in. Holding on again to your right ankle. Lifting through the chest. Now squeeze your foot into your leg and your leg into your foot. And if you can release, go ahead and release and bring your hands to prayer. Squeeze, really squeeze the leg and foot together. And draw the outer left hip in. Squeeze in. Good. And then release. Shake it out, walk around your space. And we'll try the other side. Get over here. Get out of the sunspots. Okay, so weight in the right foot and maybe step the right foot back slightly, just slightly. And isometrically draw your leg back, draw your heel back in space. Imagine you head, you're trying to pull your heel up towards your sit bones, like when we bent the leg, right? To do that, when we bent at the knee. Okay, you find that, good. And then bring your left foot into your thigh. You could be using a chair. Squeeze foot against leg, leg against foot. Outer right hip squeezes in. Well, this is the broken ankle side. Anyway, squeeze and find your drishti your gaze. Feel your strong standing leg. Hands to prayer. And release, shake it out. Walk around your space. Take up vinyasa, whatever you need. And we'll meet with legs wide on the mat. And about, if you reach your arms out, about ankles underneath wrists. And again, the tendency would be to probably go a little short. So see if you can, you're going to play around with this because it is individual, but find even standing on your feet. Imagine you're squeezing the block here between your thighs, pulling up in the back, pulling up in the front, so you have good strong Tadasana legs. Then lift your right heel. We're just gonna come into warrior two a little differently. Lift your right heel and pivot it in, and then lift your right toes and pivot them out. And see if that alignment works for you. See if that alignment works for you. Okay, so the back leg is the Tadasana leg in warrior two. So can you isometrically draw the heel up towards the sitting bones, pull that lever on the front of the leg and engage the quad, draw the left hip in towards center as you bend through the front leg and find your warrior two stance. Now I was a little bit short there, so I'm going to extend my foot out. So knee is approximately over the ankle. Now draw that back hip in. So squeeze that back hip in like you're squeezing the block, and see how that shifts your pelvis to level. Press your front foot forward isometrically, like you're trying to scooch it on the mat, and see how that helps you re-engage the back leg. And then arms out, press down into the imaginary wall, turn your gaze over your front fingers, front hand. Good, and press into your front foot, straighten your front leg, turn both feet to be parallel to one another, come out back to the big wide stance. Okay, we'll try the other side. And again, just encourage you, just try this little difference. Okay, so the right heel turns out slightly, start there, then pick up the left heel, rotate it in, set it down, pick up the left toes, rotate them out, and set your toes down there. Back leg is the Tadasana leg. So do all those actions. Pull up from your heel, pull the quad up, so tighten up like got the lever, pull the kneecap up, squeeze in, and then come down. Again, I got to come a little bit wider in my stance, come down into warrior two on this side. Keep pulling the right hip in. Squeeze up the hips in, like you're squeezing the block. Okay, and then arms out. Press down into the imaginary wall and turn your gaze over the front hand. Good. And then press into your front foot to come up, turn both feet. Let's bring the feet a little closer together. Shake out. And I want to try one more action that we're going to take back to warrior two. So you can take your right foot forward and just spread your toes, and then imagine that you are turning, you are putting the lid on a jar. So you're with your foot still, you're going to isometrically torque it clockwise. Feel that? Can you feel that in your foot? So notice, look down at your knee and see what happens when you do that. Hopefully your knee kind of lined up a little bit more over the middle of your foot. Okay, try the left foot. So placing the left foot on the mat, bend your knee slightly and torque your foot counterclockwise. So it's an isometric movement, and we want to see the effect in the thigh, which hopefully means your thigh is lined up kind of over the middle toes. Right? Okay. So now take a big wide stance. Maybe you go wider this time because you know that you ended up having to go a little bit longer in your stance. Left leg is the Tadasana leg. Turn that heel out slightly. Zip up the back. Gather the front. Pull the hip in. Pick up your right heel. Turn it in. Set it down. Pick up your right toes. Turn them out. And come into the warrior two. Now, before you take your hands out, find that same action with the foot. So like you're turning your foot clockwise, and see if that helps you line your knee up a little bit more towards the outside of your foot rather than collapsing in. Suck the back hip in, arms out, sink a little lower, back leg in Tadasana, press into the imaginary wall for 3, 2, 1. Press up, turn, right heel out, pick up left heel, turn it in, set it down, left toes out. And this, again, this is just a little guidance for setting up the feet, you know, about front heel to back heel or front heel to back arch. Okay, bend a little bend in your front knee and find that torque. So try to turn your foot counterclockwise. Then you can bend through the front knee, find Tadasana in the back leg. So all those actions, pulling up, you might have to bend your knee a little bit to feel that hamstring engagement and the quad engagement. Squeeze the legs together, draw the right hip in, arms out. Press into the imaginary wall. For 3, 2, 1. Press up. Turn both feet. Jump or step your feet together. Bounce your heels. Move around in your space. Shake your legs out. Okay, very good. And now we're going to go into Trikonasana. So, feet wide. Same setup, same setup. So I'm going to turn my left heel out slightly. Almost, well, for me, what ends up happening is the outer edge of my foot is parallel with the short edge of my mat. Then I'm going to pick up my right heel, turn my heel in, then pick up my toes, turn them out. And I'm going to start with my leg bent slightly for this Trikonasana. And I'm going to find that torquing, right? Again, that imaginary turning clockwise with my foot. And then I'm going to straighten my front leg. Press into the ball of your front foot. And then backhand on your hip. If you need to open up your stance a little bit, do that. Backhand on your hip and just sliding down and back up. Both legs working this Tadasana, those Tadasana actions. Good. And then you can just land somewhere, right? Just land somewhere, but keep your upper body open. So you might keep your left hand on your hip, or you could stack shoulders in Trikonasana. Good, bend your front knee to come out, turn both feet. Okay, line up again. Turn the right heel out slightly, pick up the left heel, turn it in, turn the left toes out. Little bend in the front leg as you counterclockwise action with the front foot. So it's this, and then you're gonna come into a straight leg. Now, we wanna strongly bring the right hip in, the back leg, and then we're gonna slide down. Slide down. Kind of sneaking in here, right? Keep pulling the back leg, keep pulling that hip in strongly, and then find a comfortable spot. You can keep your right hand on your hip or stack your shoulders. Then bend through the front leg to come back up. Turn both feet, step or jump your feet together. Bounce your heels. Shake your legs out. Okay, and now we'll try one more standing posture. Virabhadrasana 3. So you could have 2 blocks to the front of your space, or you could, since we're really just working with the strength in the Tadasana leg, you could use the back of a chair. So if I'll do both, but if I take my weight into, say, my left leg first, I'm gonna spread my toes, find my weights down side to side, front to back, and then maybe put a slight bend in my left leg and draw up the back. So like that same action to get the hamstring engaged. Then as I straighten my leg, right, and I pull the lever on the front of the leg, get the quadriceps involved, I pull my hip in, I can tilt forward and take the back leg to any, it doesn't have to be parallel to the ground. It could be just reaching back, it could be here. You could have your hands on the seat of the chair. But think about the standing leg again is your Tadasana leg. Finding all those actions in your Tadasana leg. Now, the back leg, eventually you really want to work with that being in Tadasana as well. So you could bend your knee slightly, find that action in your hamstrings. Then just like we did when we were standing up at the beginning, pull on the lever and straighten the leg, your heel away from you. So you feel your quadriceps engaging, front of the thigh. And now squeeze your legs in towards one another. Squeeze your legs in towards one another. Good. And feel the work in your outer hips. Imagine you're squeezing a block. Keep it going. Both legs are in Tadasana. Bend through your front leg, release, stand up, shake it out. Good work. Okay, good work. So we can use the chair, we could use some blocks. We'll go to the other side. If you're using your blocks, maybe up on the highest setting, find your standing leg action first. So I'm going to find my right leg, action in my right leg, bending slightly through my knee and drawing my heel back and up. Okay, I just have my weight on my right foot now. And then pulling the lever, finding the action in my quadriceps, drawing my right hip in, I'll tilt down towards my blocks, extending. See my chair's in the way there. I could bend my standing leg again and re-engage, and then press through both legs. So both legs are in Tadasana. So can you find the action in the lifted leg as well? You could bend your knee slightly, like we did at the beginning. Drag zipper from your heel up to your sit bones, then pull the lever and engage the quads. Squeeze the legs in towards one another. Squeeze them in, squeeze like you're squeezing the block. Press through your heel of your lifted leg. Press your standing leg into the floor. Yep, you got it for 3, 2, 1. And then bend your standing leg, bring both feet to the floor, step up, bounce your heels, shake your legs. Okay, take a vinyasa. Meet us in a wide-legged stance. Good. Now, from here, we're going to go into a fold. Anchor in the inside of your feet. Really anchor the insides of your feet. Okay, so because the weight will tend to go towards the outsides here. Anchor the insides. Lift through your chest. A little bit of anterior tilt. So anterior tilt, a little arch in the back. As you fold halfway, and then come back up. Okay, you could have your blocks handy here. We're going to go one more time halfway. Bring your elbows back. Good, this time all the way to the floor or to some blocks. Your head could be suspended or it could be resting on something, especially if you are a Vata type and you got a lot of dispersed energy potential. You want to connect everything to the floor, to the ground in this forward fold. Your legs are in Tadasana. So can you feel your hamstrings engaged? Can you feel your quads engaged? Can you feel that you're drawing your inner legs towards one another, like squeezing the big ball, beach ball, and then gather your outer hips in. Great. From the forward fold, heel toe your feet in slightly, hands to hips, and hinge up. Take your time, come to Tadasana. Bend the knees slightly, draw the back of the legs. So long muscles are strong muscles. So bring the heels, zip up the heels to the sit bones, then pull the levers on the front, squeeze the legs together, break out against the strap, reach your fingertips down. As you reach down, feel for a rebounding through the crown of your head. Then arms out. Press into the imaginary wall, engaging. Keep the legs engaged though. Don't let the engagement go there. Turn palms up. And reach up. Reach up. Hands either parallel to one another, fingers interlaced with index finger released or thumbs interlaced, whatever feels nice in your hands. And draw your shoulder blades down slightly. Keep the legs engaged. So this is tricky for a lot of us, is to keep the grounding when we move up through space and energetically move up, right? So keep the legs engaged, firmly pressing down into your feet. Try separating your feet isometrically. What happens in your legs when you do that? Now draw your hips, outer hips in as you do that action. Co-action. Good, and slowly let your arms float down. And you can either just come to the floor or take a vinyasa to the floor. We'll come down onto our backs. And take a little circular motion through your hips, through your pelvis. Turn the other way here. And any other thing that feels nice. And then let's take figure 4. So left ankle on right thigh. And you could extend the right leg long. You can bring your hand through the space if you want, or just pull your knees in towards your chest. Really drop your hips towards the floor. Really get a nice stretch on the outer hip. And from this figure 4, just go ahead and slide your legs together so that you're in the Gomukhasana legs. And then drop your feet down to the floor and take your knees over to the right. Okay, unwind. Bring right ankle on left knee. Same thing. Right, left leg could be extended. Bring your left hand through the space or not. Just really feeling for some lengthening in the outer hip, countering some of the work we just did, and then squeeze legs together, Gomukhasana legs. Drop your feet to the floor and knees over to the left. Okay, unwind. Take position of comfort with soles of feet to the floor, and we'll take a couple of rolling bridges. So as you press into your feet and lift your hips, arms come behind. You could leave your arms back behind your body on the floor and just roll down, sweeping your arms back into place, or you can coordinate the lifting and the returning to earth with the hips and the hands. So you do whatever feels nice to you. It's exploring how actually when we find good alignment, we find good energetic and physical alignment in our standing postures, just standing, like Tadasana, just standing, how that might influence our spine. Certainly does, but how does it feel now? How is it now? How do your hips feel? How does your spine feel? So as you continue with this bridge action, keep the back of your neck long by bringing your chin slightly in towards your chest. And at any point, you could rest in a restorative bridge with a block underneath your sacrum. Or you could hold the bridge pose in a stronger variation. Do listen to your body here and see what might be advantageous for you right now. And start to bring yourself back. If you've left, bring yourself back into your bodily sensation. Don't short yourself anything here, just a couple more minutes. Lots of options from your bridge, supported bridge. You could go to a supported shoulder stand, go legs up the wall. You can just take the block out and come down into a traditional Shavasana. Really have some generous listening for what might be the best thing for you right now. Again, allowing yourself to really drop down and find sensation in your body. Anchoring maybe with the breath or some sounds in your space. We'll be here for a few minutes. Soften any tension around your eyes, around your mouth, in your inner ear, throat, shoulders. Let your breath be soft. Soften your hands. Space between your brow. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Peace to all beings. Namaste.